Welcome back, Bears fans, to this Friday edition of the CHGO Bears Podcast. What is going on, everybody? It's Friday, also known as the CHGO Audible Day, our weekly in-depth game preview, all aimed to make you the most informed Bears fan on game day. Will DeWitt, Nicholas Moreano here for you. Excited for today's episode. Before we kind of dive in, I just want to do a quick birthday shout out to my mom. It's her Lance Briggs' birthday here today, so happy birthday there, Mama Bear. But Nick, I know you've been battling an illness over the last few days. We have something going on in the house too. AJ's been under the weather for a couple of days here too. I'm glad you're powering through here for us. But I know last night we were both watching that game in Prime Vision. That was pretty dope.
I love that. I love the wider angle that you get to see them spotlighting certain players, and you can almost see the play develop before it's actually finished, right? And I really like that all 22 angle. But yeah, so if I sound a little nasally, I apologize. But just like the Bears, hopefully we're gonna rebound and get things back together here.
There we go. Now that Prime Vision is cool. I like how you can see it shows you like when those receivers are running routes. Just kind of like, I don't know, they're a little bit more complex than I think you would believe. Like when you watch Madden, you see these straight lines, right? Like boom, booms. Yeah. But in games, they're a little bit more nuanced, and seeing like the little time to throw counter going over the quarterback's head. Everyone who knows me knows how much I love numbers and how they relate to the game of football. So it was a really neat experience overall. I didn't know it was a thing. Apparently even last year, Nick, they actually started to use it. I saw about it a couple weeks ago, and I knew I was waiting for last night to check it out, and it really did not disappoint. And I feel like maybe it would be awesome if the Bears and Justin Fields could watch this game on the field with Prime Vision. That may help them out because I feel like they need a lot of different help right now.
No doubt about it. They can definitely use all the help they can get, and we're gonna go through every which way that they can possibly get that help on offense, defense, and everything in between. But see, people are excited. It's us too. You have Greg, producing the show here too. So we got the squad here to close out your Friday and get you prepared for Sunday between the Bears and the Buccaneers.
Nothing puts a smile on my face like getting to talk Bears football with you, Nick. It's, again, doing it for 8 years now, but it's one of my favorite points of each and every week. It's been a busy week here, at least for me, helping the Philly launch, PHLY, which has been tremendous, overwhelming support over in our brand new market for ALLCITY. So it's just been a lot of fun, but today's the day where I got to wake up and I'm like, I get to research the Bears. I get to talk Bears football. And to me, that's always a little extra special. So here's a quick recap of what we're going to discuss in case you're just not aware of what these game preview shows look like. We're going to begin by discussing the keys to success on both sides of the ball, determine who has the edge, share our weekly X factors, our bold predictions, and really a whole lot more. Make sure to ask questions throughout the entire episode. Throw some super chats in here. We'll answer a bunch at the end once we kind of get to that point of the show. And of course, if you want the Bears to win, you believe they'll win, or heck, you're just a fan of Nick and I, make sure to give this video a quick thumbs up. Nick, to kick things off, Bears Bucks one-liner.
I've switched these one-liners to one-worders. I'm making up a word right here, but uneasy is the one-liner that I'm going to use to describe this matchup between the Bears and Buccaneers. And we're going to detail exactly why I'm feeling uneasy. And I'm sure a lot of Bears fans are as well.
Mine, and I'm going to go with you. Maybe we'll turn it to the one word for this segment here. But I'm going to go with Listerine, Nick, because I want that nasty taste that I left Soldier Field with in my mouth that night, and I just want it gone. And obviously, I think the Bears need to have that happen here too. Hopefully, they've been figuring out ways to do it this week. If not, we may be in for a long Sunday afternoon. But I'm going to go with Listerine because there's been a lot of games. You and I have been podcasting about this team for a long time where we just sit there and there's a pit in your stomach and you just can't get over it as easily and as quickly as you want. And usually the ones against the Packers, they stink worse. And boy, Nick, Sunday, that drive home for me that night was a long one. And I just kept finding myself shaking my head and really wanting to kind of, try to find a way to move on, but I just couldn't.
Well, that's I mean, like you said, we've been through this a long time. We've been doing this for a while, and there's been a lot of bad losses, but I don't think the word Listerine has ever popped up on this podcast. And it's a perfect way to just kind of encapsulate what needs to happen going into week 2. So perfect word there.
All right, let's get into our keys to success. We'll begin with the Bears offense, who hopefully just scrapped last week's game plan, threw it in the recycling bin, and then lit that thing on fire. I'll begin with my very first key of the episode, which is a Ted Lasso reference, just for you, Nick. Be a goldfish. And again, it's been a long week. And honestly, not just like for me personally, but the Bears and House Hall. I mean, they've been under scrutiny, both on a local and national level. And I'm hoping, obviously that building isn't completely under duress, because there's just so much wrong that just happened last week. DJ Moore having the lowest targets. And I know I put the date, like it was over 1,000 some odd days. I went back and I counted how many games that is, because I think that's another way to just quantify like how rare it is for DJ Moore to have 2 or fewer targets. That's the first time in 50 games in his career that he's seen 2 targets or less. 50 games. The inability, for the Bears backs to get cooking at all really sucked. Throwing the ball downfield. That offense, when you rewatch that game, felt like a very high school-esque approach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to my wife's homecoming game here tonight, and I know like they love to throw the screen game. They don't really push that ball downfield, and that's kind of what the Bears offense looked last week. 3rd down. Nick, you know what it was? It was a death sentence. 6th worst in the league last week after being the worst in the NFL a year ago. Not the improvement any of us were hoping to see. So I just wanted to highlight a few of the things that went wrong and just reiterate and reference that for the Bears' sake, they just need to have a short memory here on offense, shake off the cobwebs, and really just go out there and play football. Don't play scared. Just go out there to freaking play the game. And I'm not saying they shouldn't learn from their mistakes and reflect on those mistakes, but they can't go into this game being like a pity party. Oh, woe is me. Oh my gosh, we're down in the dumps and we can't figure this thing out. It's way too early for it. This is week 2. So just like Ted told Sam, I'm telling the Bears, be a goldfish.
Love it, Will. Be a goldfish. Exactly. Have that 10-second memory, because they do have this week 2 matchup. And for my first key for this Bears offense, it's going to be all about communication. Because when you watch this Buccaneers defense, they bring the blitz like no other. And they were the 2nd most heavy blitz team in the NFL in week 1, only behind the Minnesota Vikings. And maybe they weren't as effective as they would have liked to be using the blitz, but Kirk Cousins definitely felt that pressure. Was still able to make some big plays, but he could just feel it. And how they do it, Will, like maybe they'll bring the linebacker on one play. Maybe they'll bring their DBs. They'll show 5 on the line of scrimmage. But if you're Justin Fields in this Bears offensive line, you don't know exactly who's actually rushing the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a lot of times their safety, Ryan Neal, he wouldn't necessarily be on the line of scrimmage, number 23, but they'll drop maybe David or White, the linebackers, and then the safety will replace them and get pressure on the quarterback. Antoine Winfield had a nice sack strip off the right edge, was able to get to Kirk Cousins. They make it so difficult on you to identify who is actually going. So the communication up front from all 5 offensive linemen to whoever the running back is on that play to Justin Fields, they need to be in sync, because if they're not, there are going to be opportunities for this Bucs defense to not only blitz, possibly sack Justin Fields, but to create turnovers off of that. So they need to have that communication on point. If not, it's not going to be good for this Bears offense all game long.
No, they love the blitz, and the Bears offensive line really needs to step up their game here. And actually, that was my 3rd key. I'm going to go ahead and just make it my 2nd key for the sake of consistency and carrying along our conversation here. But just talking about Tampa Bay, you mentioned they love the blitz. You mentioned Winfield and that big sack that he had. He had 4 blitzes last week, and he got 2 pressures off of them, one including that big game-changing play that you mentioned. Devin White, he blitzed 11 times last week for the Buccaneers, and other players too coming in from the linebackers, the secondary. Like you said, you don't know who's coming. You don't know from which level of the field. They're going to confuse and attempt to confuse this Bears offensive line that really struggled last week. And it wasn't like the Packers were doing anything ultra crazy up front. So once you take that and then you add in all the wrinkles that Todd Bowles' defense is going to kind of throw our way, it gets me worried. And you just know this offensive line, they're going to be tested. Justin needs to recognize what this defense is going to be trying to do. But they're going to be trying to even confuse QB1 here. They're going to want to make him think it's coming from one direction, flip it, it's coming in from the other side too. They're going to really, I think they saw Justin kind of crumble a little bit under pressure last week, and they're going to want to keep that same thing happening for them. I mean, their game plan should be really, really simple. They're going to pin their ears back because, Fields is showing he'll still hold on to that football a little bit too long. And, if I was that defensive coordinator, I would be chomping at the bit. And just for the Bears side of things, Fields sacked 4 times last week. He had the second most pressures per dropback on 53.1% of his dropbacks. He was under pressure. One of them was a turnover on a fumble. Weirdly enough, Nick, positive. Braxton Jones, I don't know if this has been talked about. I've been really living under a rock all week with some of my other work, but he had the highest pass block grade of all tackles last week in the NFL, according to PFF, tied with David Bakhtiari at 89.9. Like, I know Braxton had his other mistakes, but damn, that really surprised me when I went back and I saw that stat. But Darnell Wright, he gave up the second most pressures of all tackles. Welcome to the NFL, rookie. Nate Davis gave a league high 9 hurries allowed among guards last week. 5, Nick, was the next highest. He gave up 9, nearly double the guy who gave up the second most pressures at guard. And then White here also gave up the 5th most pressures at guard. Lucas Patrick gave up the most pressures of any center in the league. So you add all this up and you also look at what we talked about with Tampa Bay's aggressive style of defense, which, by the way, seems like a lot of fun to watch. I wish we can have an aggressive defense here too sometimes. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, man, it just gets me really, really concerned about the matchup in the trenches, to be most honest.
No, it absolutely does. It's like I said at the top, uneasy. It's really watching that front seven, how the Bucks kind of handle things, and that's why it goes into my second key on offense. And you kind of touched on it, Will. Get the ball out quickly, and that's the thing that Justin Fields did not show in Week 1. Even when there were guys open, he was hesitant to just let the ball fly. So if he plays the same way he did in Week 1 and Week 2. He's going to get hit a lot more. He's going to get a lot more times. He's going to be sacked. A lot more times he's going to be pressured. But this front, even if they don't even bring extra guys, they will eventually hit home. So even on some of his dropbacks, I'm sure everybody watched the QB School's breakdown of Justin Fields. The dropbacks just for Fields, they seemed like it was a little nonchalant. It wasn't like he was I don't know, in rhythm. If that's what you're being coached, then that's what you're being coached, because you got to line it up with time with the receivers. But I think there can be a little bit more urgency as long as it lines up with how you're being coached. And ironically, you guys, it's going to sound crazy, and don't look at me like I'm crazy, but the screen game could be a huge for the Bears if they can actually block. And I know if they can block with this front, how they blitz, the screen game could actually be an asset to the Bears if they block it up correctly. Like Justin Fields talked about it after the game. If we had just better blocking, we have things set up. Luke Getsy reiterated that in his Thursday press conference, saying that we had the matchups there, but if we get the blocks, then we can actually make some things happen. I think against the Bucks, if they're bringing that much in the middle, obviously there's less guys on the outside that you have to worry about to make the gang tackles. So you have to make your blocks, but that's easier said than done. So getting the ball out quickly is my second key.
I mean, there's so many, and they're not even like my keys, but just talking about this game, and you mentioned, God forbid, the screen game. Yes, I know it could work. It just, I have a lot of angst about it right now, but actually getting this running attack going with the running backs would be helpful to help counter that blitz. I know you were tweeting about play action, how that helps open up windows. And we've talked about that on here for years, and how it makes those soft pockets because the defense steps up. And so if the Bears can run the ball, force the defense to honor the run, it could help counter some of these blitzes. But also what we saw last week was even on some of these play actions that the Bears would attempt and Justin would boot out, Green Bay had those sniffed out every single time. And some of that's blocking because those were free rushers coming in. But on top of that, you have to know defenses are aware of what the Bears offense is going to try to do here. And it's really up to them to find honestly, and it's week 2, but tendency breakers in order to find positive plays, because that leads to my final key here for the Bears offense, which is to avoid drive killers. And, the Bears have talked about it all week. And Nick, you and I are in the press box and we are crunching stats. And my God, the Bears, they feel like they're always in 3rd and long here in this game. And that was true. But just a quick recap of just things that went wrong. I mean, beginning of the game, 2 failed sneaks in a row, kills what seemed like a very promising opening drive. Then you get the ball back, 2 straight false starts. At home, by the way, once you cross and get into a opponent scoring territory, that stalled the drive. Bears had to settle for a field goal, holding on Braxton Jones on a series after that. A sack for -11. So you had a 1st and 20, a 2nd and 20, and now we're looking at another one, which is a 2nd and 21. You take a fumble on a sack. And then I went back to our notes, Nick, and until garbage time, which I'm counting garbage time, with 6 minutes left in the 4th quarter, when they're down by 24. That's garbage time for me. Up until that point, the Bears averaged 10.1 yards to go on 3rd down for the game. So they were averaging more yards to go on 3rd down than you actually start a series with. 10.1 yards, which is more than 10. So the Bears, again, they've used this excuse all week, but I think there is merit to it. And the Bears just kept shooting themselves. Really, they kept saying in the foot, but they were shooting themselves in both feet throughout the entirety of that football game. They need to get the hell out of their own way. Because that Bucs defense, as you and I have already discussed, are good enough to be a problem as it is, and it's really hard to succeed. And I say this a lot: when you have to beat your opponent, and then you also have to stop beating yourself. You're literally going up against 2 opponents when you do that here too. And last week in our preview show, I kept reiterating the importance of the Bears defense to try to find a way to make the Green Bay offense play from off schedule. And I think they heard my key and they said, you know what, that sounds like a good one. We're going to make the Bears offense play from behind the sticks and be off schedule. And look what happened. So for me, a huge key this week for the Bears is just to avoid those drive killers because there was more than a handful last week. And on top of that, the key within the key is find a way to get into 3rd and manageable.
No, that's a go. And look, my last key is sustained drive. So right along the same lines of what you're thinking there, Will. And I just think that when you have pre-snap penalties, it's never going to go your way. But so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what I saw was working against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers front 7 is when the Vikings, even though they had not established a run whatsoever in this game, you guys, they ended the game with 41 total rushing yards, the Vikings, but still they were doing this play action back to the defense. It moved the linebackers just enough, you guys, to where windows opened up. And I know that with this spotty Bears offensive line, you're almost asking Justin Fields to, it's pretty risky out there to put his back towards the defense, but that works enough to move some guys out of place to where you can hit some big plays. We just didn't see enough of those explosive plays, especially in the middle of the field. And for this Bears offense to have success, that needs to be a part of the game plan. It cannot just be screens, it's horizontal attack. And we all know that Justin Fields left some plays out there against the Green Bay Packers, but whatever you have to do to sustain drives, you need to do it in this week 2 matchup, because like we just talked about all before in our previous 2 keys, the Bucs are going to blitz. They're going to blitz a lot. They're going to do it with a lot of different people. So, and someone put in the chat, like, it's not just screens. Justin Fields needs to have the hot route available too. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know when someone vacates a place, your guy should be replacing there, and you throw the hot route and hopefully get a big chunk of yards there. So anything that you can do, Luke Getsy, to put Justin Fields in advantageous situations like he was saying that he was trying to do against the Packers, you need to do it to an even better extent this game, because I think this defense is just more dangerous than what Green Bay was doing. So whatever it takes, you guys, and I know that it's literally, I'm putting everything into a hodgepodge of things, but if it's putting your back towards the defense to move those linebackers a little bit so you can hit a hole right behind them, do it. If it's hitting the screen pass, you just got to be willing to do whatever it takes to try to mitigate the blitz that the Bucs are going to bring. Because like you said, Will, they probably see blood in the water when they see Justin Fields and how hesitant he was in week 1. So it's definitely a tough matchup.
Yeah, you would have never have known which quarterback was limited in starts throughout his career versus the other one last week between Jordan Love and Justin Fields. What's up, Greg?
Well, let me ask you guys this, because, I see Gary in the chat saying he's going to call a college offense again. And that's my question. Do you think that we're going to see more of the screen game like we saw week 1 to try to stymie the Todd Bowles blitz? Or as someone pointed out in the chat yesterday, as much as I'm nervous about their screen execution, do you think that that's going to open up? Because when you blitz, that opens up one-on-one opportunities on the outside. And you heard both Getsy and Justin Fields say they need to take advantage of those more. So maybe I'm not looking at it in the right angle. Maybe it won't be as many screens and it'll be more downfield one-on-ones to some of these playmakers we need to get the ball to.
I think it's going to be a little of both. Just to start off here, I think what was I tweeted out? I think it was from the Eagles-Vikings game, if I'm not mistaken. They ran, yes. Jordan Addison scores off a deep touchdown because they faked the screen to the left side, and Kirk Cousins just had time. So you can implement the screen game as a decoy as well and actually try to hit those deep shots. But look, everything's on the table, you guys. Like, it literally is. But that's a good way to use the screen game and actually not throw it, but to try to get something vertical, because the same route that Jordan Addison ran to score against the Eagles in last night's game, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, they can all run that same route. They can all be just as effective doing that. But I think it's going to be a little bit of everything when it comes to that screen game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to get into it like too much here and overthink it, but obviously, Greg, if they can give Justin time, then you can take some of those more deep shots. But if that blitz is coming in hot and ferocious and Justin has someone on his lap immediately because Nate Davis, Cody Whitehair, or Lucas Patrick, they're not doing their job right there in the heart of this thing, that pocket never even comes to be, then it's going to be really difficult to even give those guys those opportunities.
Okay. I appreciate the insight, and I'll throw the full keys up just so everybody kind of is on the same page. Will's offensive keys to the game. And I really enjoy the be a goldfish short memory. That's a great analogy. And avoid drive killers and the blitz counter. And then of course, Nick here, communication is key. Get the ball out quickly and sustain drives as the offensive keys to the game for Will and Nick. I'm going to have it correct here for the defense, though. I got you guys.
Ooh, lots of fun there. I see that we're already 23 minutes in, Nick. Do we want to do the defensive keys, or do we want to take our first time out, collect ourselves, then get into the defensive keys?
I was just thinking that, Will. So always on the same wavelength here. But let's get into some ads, and then we can go into our defensive keys and be good.
Perfect. You're up first, man.
All right, guys. We have a new partner, someone that you've heard about before, but Ray CDJR. Are you in the market right now for a new vehicle? If you are, then you have some great news. We have some great news for you. Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Fox Lake have just joined the CHGO team. At Ray CDJR, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest inventories and find unforgettable savings. And right now, during Jeep Adventure Days at Ray CDJR in Fox Lake, you'll be able to take up 15% off MSRP on all new 2023 Jeep Gladiator models. You gotta cash in on that when you can, you guys. But that's not all. Now through September 30th, explore their newly renovated showroom and take advantage of breathtaking deals as they celebrate their grand reopening there in Fox Lake. So again, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com today. Serving the community since 1963.
Awesome stuff, Nick. I want to make sure everyone knows about Fubo. I know a lot of people are signed up with Fubo, but if you're not yet, I'm going to make sure you know why you better sign up with Fubo ASAP. First of all, they have over 140 live channels of sports shows, movies, and news. You can stream live TV from like any device, your iPad, your phone, Nick's camera that is also a phone. That's literally every single device, your computer, and you can watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price. Start watching immediately with a free trial, no contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. You have over 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. Watch your local teams even while traveling. Obviously, you can, that helps you watch these Bears games, and of course, all the, the Sox, Cubs. We have Bulls and Blackhawks starting up here really, really soon. To be a great time to catch up. And college football's going on. I know right now we're focused on like the Bears, but I mean, college football is also an amazing part of my Saturday routine, and I'm sure it is yours as well. So watch all of your favorite college football and NFL with Fubo. Go to www.FuboTV.com/CHGO to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. All right, this is Will DeWitt, Nicholas Moreano, the CHGO Bears Podcast. It's the CHGO Audible Day. It's our game preview episode. We've already given you our 3 keys each for the Bears to succeed on offense. And now it's time to switch our attention over to this Bears defense. And Nick, since technically I received the opening kickoff there in the first half of the keys, you're going to start us off here first with your first key on defense.
Yeah, and I see Nicholas in the chat here. We're also thinking the same here, because I have this literally in my notes for the Bears defense this week. Don't be so vanilla is what my first key on defense is. A lot of the times the Bears lined up defensively in in a specific defense, but that's what they ended with. Whether it was cover 2, cover 3, there wasn't a lot of pre-snap and post-snap motion or switching up for this Bears defense. So Jordan Love, even though very inexperienced in terms of game reps, was able to identify what was going on in the defense and orchestrate the play as it was designed, because he didn't have to really think much else of what the defense was going to bring. I just think of the 4th and 3 play, the slant pass to Aaron Jones. TJ Edwards is in coverage there. It's cover 1, and everyone's manned up, but there wasn't anything that Jordan Love had to identify. He knew it was cover 1. He knew he had Aaron Jones on a choice route and then threw the ball. But the thing that scares me, I say, don't be so vanilla. That's what Alan Williams in this Bears defense is, you guys. Like, let's be honest. You're not going to see a lot of the linebackers mugged up at the line of scrimmage and they have 5 guys there. You don't know who's going to be blitzing. That's not what Alan Williams does, you guys. So even though it's one of my keys, and I would love for him to kind of break that, that habit that he shows when he puts a defense out there. But unfortunately, that's not what this Bears defense is. So I just think that, if they want to maybe have a better opportunity, mix some things up, throw some different things at Baker Mayfield, and maybe that'll give you a better advantage to not only get off the field on 3rd down, but just have more success on defense.
Nick, I just want a number 1 through 10, your confidence meter that they won't be vanilla.
That they won't be vanilla? It's probably like a 9.
So you're 9 out of 10 that they won't be. So yes. 1% or 10% chance that they actually
maybe on like 4 plays, they won't be vanilla.
Yeah, good luck with that. I actually have more about this for my second key, but I'm not going to jump ahead. My very first key, it's just time for takeaways. The Bears offense, I feel like they're going to be, unfortunately, potentially give up the ball a few times. That Buccaneers defense preaches turnovers, and by golly, unlike the Bears who preach it, they find ways to get it done on the field. They had 3 takeaways last week against the Vikings, including a red zone pick and a couple of fumble recoveries. And they just went, pretty much the Buccaneers know, like, we don't have to have a clean game ourselves on offense. As long as our defense is creating more takeaways and we're committing turnovers, we're going to be in a better position to win this game. They just want to win the turnover margin because they know it boosts your winning odds. And so for the Bears defense, they're going to have to find a way to counter this. It's plain and simple. And I'm like you in the vanilla-ness, like, I'm just not confident in the Bears' ability to just take the football away right now. And I'm just really concerned about that defense's ability to generate turnovers. Middle of the road last year, they were just 1 of 8 teams not to have a takeaway so far in week 1. That's a quarter of the league. And look at today's this matchup for the weekend. Baker Mayfield, he's proven he'll give defenses chances to make plays, but really it's up for the Bears to execute. And it's not going to happen, Nick, if the Bears don't find any sort of pass rush. The issue that plagued this defense a year ago. When you look back at week 1, only 2 QBs were pressured less last week than Jordan Love. And to go back to offense, Justin Fields, 2nd most pressure quarterback in the league. Jordan Love, 3rd least pressured quarterback in the league. No wonder why the final score was the way it kind of ended up. So the Bears, you have to find a way to get pressure more than 20% of the time. You really just need to find a way for that to happen. If you don't, and you just sit back and you play a little bit of vanilla soft shell coverage, it's going to be really difficult for this Bears defense to come away with takeaways, especially without, I think, Kyler Gordon. It's going to be a big loss for this unit in the nickel. Tampa Bay loves putting all of their receivers in the slot sometimes, whether it be Evans, Godwin. And so it's going to be tough, but it's still better be an emphasis for the Bears like it should be, like they say it is, but we haven't seen it yet. And I know this is only game 2 of year 2, but I'm starting to get antsy about it, to be honest.
No, and I think a lot of Bears fans are as well, which is unfortunate. Let's go into my second key, guys. Something that I was just watching on tape from this Buccaneers offense they like to run a lot are definitely the slants and posts from their wide receivers. You'll see Mike Evans running the slant in the post, whether it's on a safety or in the middle of the field from the slot, like you were just saying, Will, or, outside. And they'll do the same thing with Godwin. So, and for Baker Mayfield, he only threw for 173 passing yards in that win over the Minnesota Vikings. But on those throws specifically, there was conviction with his throws. He put it usually in the right spot. There was one high one on the post to one of the tight ends, but scored a touchdown to Mike Evans on a post route. On a key third down in the game where the Buccaneers were trying to milk the clock but also try to get in field goal range, he had Chris Godwin isolated to the right, ran a nice post route on third down, was able to pick up the chains and keep that Buccaneers offense moving, and also to end up eventually getting the game-winning field goal. So when you don't have a guy like Kyler Gordon who could defend in the slot, and we don't, at this point, guys, we don't even know who's going to play that nickel corner spot as of Friday. With Josh Blackwell being limited with a hamstring injury, could it be Jalen Jones? Could Tyreek be in the slot? Don't know yet. But I just saw a lot of conviction from Baker Mayfield throwing on those in-breaking routes, especially on the slants and posts. So that needs to be something that is a high priority for the Bears defense. And if they do this play action with maybe Baker Mayfield's back to the defense to try to suck up those linebackers, you're opening up those windows to hit those slants and posts right behind them. So it's a matchup that I'm sure the Bears have identified, but it's something that the Buccaneers offense like to use. And again, they didn't do it very much with only 173 passing yards, but when they needed to, they were able to get some big plays. And Mike Evans actually dropped a touchdown off a slant route, but I don't think he's going to be doing that again. He's usually pretty consistent. So definitely got to make sure you're aware of the slants and posts against this Buccaneers offense.
I like the specificness, and there's a reason why the Bears signed 2 linebackers that are supposed to be good cover backers to help clog up the middle of the field. And we know that had mixed results last week against Green Bay. I'm going to get into my second key, which really builds off of everything we've been talking about and really reeling from my last key. And I know everyone is, but I'm just sick and tired of this soft defense. I want to reiterate it one more time. Like anywhere you look last week, they were just losing their matchups. Defensive line, I mentioned no pass rush. They're getting pushed back in crucial rundowns. Linebackers, I'm not going to name a name, but getting outran by running backs in space for huge gains. Missed tackles, miscommunication in the secondary, players getting wide open behind the secondary, inability to get off the field on third down. They got the Packers, to their credit, on or into third down 16 times, second most in the league, but they just couldn't get off the field. They allowed them to convert on 9 of those, which is just extremely gross. And really, it just, to me, Nick, when I go back and watch that game and just remember watching it with you, like it felt like the Bears defense just had the best view in the house, a front row seat to the Green Bay Packers show. Like that's what it felt like. They just stood back and watched them literally pick them apart. And outside of a couple, and I'm going to give them credit for a couple of good series where they forced 3 and outs, the Bears defense, outside of that, they just weren't cutting it. And so maybe it'll be a moment, since there's so many new guys on this defense. We know like over half the starters are new. Most of the depth is new. Maybe it's going to take a minute for these guys to gel, but still, it didn't matter what the names were in the back of the jerseys. It looked like last year's defense. And I don't know, like what kind of unit are they going to be this year? Are they going to be soft? Are they going to just allow themselves to get bullied? Are they going to just get pushed around? And if they're going to answer yes to all of those questions, we're in for a very long year. You have serious questions at defensive coordinator, serious questions at head coach. And when we hired Matt Eberflus, and, I live down in the Indianapolis area, some of my good friends down here, when I was talking about him, like, you can have him. He's way too soft. And now we're in year 2 and we're having the same exact conversation. So that's what's worrying me. So it's really identity check time. They need to figure out what kind of unit they want to be. Just like the offense, they have a short memory. This defense needs to have it, but they also need to have, honestly, the pride to figure their shit out and be better this week. Because if they're going to be as soft and as vanilla, so they may as well be an ice cream cone, as we saw last week, it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long Sunday afternoon against this Buccaneers offense.
I completely agree, Will. You put it exactly, what it is right now. That's what it is for the Bears defense, and they just need to look themselves in the mirror and see if they're going to actually put in the effort to change, the performance, how they perform on the field out here in week 2. And, my final key here, we've all touched on this, is just get off the field on third down, you guys. When you go back and look at that Packers game, even on the very first drive of the game, you talked about playing too soft, Will. Well, it was 3rd and 13, and Jalen Johnson is playing with a lot of cushion, probably by design with this Bears defense. Jalen Johnson gives up the completion to Romeo Doubs on a slant route to get that first down. I was just talking about slants, what the Buccaneers like to run. But later on in the game, it just didn't happen there, obviously. But 3rd and 8, this is late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter. The Packers run a flood concept, and Jordan Love hits Jaden Reed on the deeper out for an 18-yard gain. 2 plays later, they get a touchdown that play. That first drive, obviously, the Packers get a touchdown on that drive. But those are third down plays where, that's a good spot to be in as a defense. 3rd and 13, 3rd and 8, that's where you want the opposing offense to be, but not with this Bears defense, because they're going to give that up. They're going to allow you to sustain drives. When I'm looking at the 2 drives from the Buccaneers that ended in touchdowns against this Minnesota Vikings defense, there was a bad neutral zone infraction by the Minnesota Vikings on 3rd and 7. Makes it 3rd and 2. At that point defensively, you don't know what the Buccaneers are going to do. Are they going to run this ball on 3rd and 2? Are they going to pass it on 3rd and 2? But on 3rd and 7, most likely you're thinking as a defense, they're passing. But simple mistakes like that, penalties, can really put you at a disadvantage on the defense, as a defense. So I just look at, all the things that went wrong defensively, whether it's, playing too soft in coverage, not being creative on defense, being too vanilla, like all those things factored into why, the Bears defense was out there for a while, why they gave up so many points. So it's a lot to fix up, you guys. And as we're kind of going through this, you kind of see all the problems that happened in week 1. And, we'll see how many of those issues they can realistically not even resolve, but patch up going into week 2.
Look, I'm not saying it's wrong if you're in 3rd and long to play a shell coverage. Like, theoretically, that is the trend in the NFL right now. It's the right thing to do. But if you're going to allow them to turn, these quote singles, right, these little dinks and dunks into doubles or triples, if you want to use a baseball analogy here, and convert because you can't close the gap, you can't wrap up, and you let these guys gain all these yards after the catch, boy, like, it's like, what are you doing? Like, then you have to be aggressive. But if you can play back and tackle them and make sure you're not going to just give them like a 4th and 1 that they're just going to, do a sneak and convert on, fine. But for all intents and purposes for the Bears, as we talked about, they need to find that aggressive switch and flip it. But let's get into my final key here, which is to limit the ground gains. And this may be a weird one for you guys to hear, but just hear me out. So after the game, sitting in the press room, Coach Eberflus said, hey, you know what? The defense's ability to stop a run, that's a positive to take away from this game. And Nick, I'll be honest, that did not sit well with me. You just got whooped by the Packers. There were no moral victories to be had. And he's like, yeah, well, we look at the stats. We didn't give up, a ton of yards on the ground. And you're right. The Packers didn't run up and down this Bears defense statistically because they didn't have to. Why? Well, let's just use Aaron Jones as a wide receiver. And okay, he had 86 receiving yards, Nick. Okay. How many yards of those came after the catch?
Ooh.
Don't look, I know.
Yeah, no, I'm looking off into the distance over by, I'm going to say like 75.
85 of the 86.
Damn it. Okay.
85 of 86 yards came after the catch. You can't tell me that's not an extension of the running game. You cannot tell me that's just the running game disguised as a pass. So don't give me the BS like, hey, at least we stopped the run. Aaron Jones kicked your butt. And I'm going to even get into it a little bit more because no, the Bears didn't give up all the yards that we saw on the ground consistently a year ago. They didn't get knocked out, right? You didn't see that knockout punch, but they did get annihilated by like some of those jabs. Like if you're watching boxing, some of those liver shots really hurt this Bears defense. And let me just give you a couple examples of what these jabs look like. Packers' very first scoring drives, Aaron Jones, 7-yard gain on first down on the ground, 8-yard gain on the next set of downs on first down, 7-yard gain on 3rd and 2 on the ground. And then at the Green Bay 12, which got them inside of the 5. So you had 3rd and 2 at the 12, and you allow a 7-yard gain on the ground. But sure, we stopped the run. And then let's go into the very first drive of the second half. Aaron Jones, 9-yard gain on first down on the ground. Aaron Jones, 7-yard gain on the ground on first down. A.J. Dillon, 5-yard gain on first and goal from the 7. So we got him down to the 2. Don't tell me you stopped the run. Now, Tampa Bay last week, they didn't run the ball well, 2.7 yards per carry. Only the running backs had 39 yards on 17 carries, just looking at running backs specifically here. But if the Bears defense plays as soft as we saw week 1, why wouldn't you expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be able to run this ball and get the same kind of jabs, even if they don't get the big plays, the same sort of jabs that the Packers were able to land? So the Bears need to find a way to limit those. Tampa Bay proved that even if they're not going to effectively rush the football, they're going to stick with it. They're going to have a balanced attack. And I think we'll see a lot of that on Sunday, but they really need to limit those ground plays, especially on first down, because those killed this defense last week.
No doubt about it. I think Matty was trying to find some silver lining when he said that. It's like, I think we stopped the run pretty well. Stop. Like you just detailed, Will.
Man, I didn't think I was going to get that heated talking about that key, but I did. Phew. Greg, are you going to recap these for our listeners at home? I know the viewers had your awesome graphics, but you want to do the recap?
Yeah, we can do the recap for sure. So Will's defensive keys here are time for takeaways, long pass time, identity check, reality check here for the Chicago Bears. Who do you want to be? Limit the ground gains, especially on early downs, the third key to victory on the defensive side of the ball for Will. And then for Nick, his 3 keys to victory: don't be so vanilla. And his second one, defense slants and the posts. I completely agree with that. Too many times on third down, just sticking in zone coverage. 3rd and long, first down Packers. That was as demoralizing as it gets. Get off the field on 3rd down. The 3 keys to victory on the defensive side of the ball for Nick. So well done, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate that, man. Nick, I'm still kind of boiling a little bit, so I'm going to, unfortunately, I think I need to take a breath, which means we should take a second time out real quick, to take this break and then get back and have a lot of fun with some bold predictions, X Factors, who has the edge, and a bunch of staples that we've been doing for years. Excited to get there. But first, you are up with a great message, and I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, a message from Game Time. As you guys know, it's like concert season. There's a bunch of events going on, and you just need to find that place to find those tickets. Well, you can, the hassle of finding tickets can go away if you just use the Game Time app, because buying tickets to your favorite events, well, it shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop, again, stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped up for the fun you'll have. And here's some of the things that, I personally just like about the Game Time app. You have those flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And then you have the image of your seats, so you can see exactly where, you're looking to buy your ticket, what the view is going to be like. Always a plus to have that. And then they have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They have all that stuff. So Game Time has you covered there. But what you can also do is you can just forget about planning months in advance. I'm usually that kind of guy. I got to plan months in advance. But Game Time, it has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. And again, you get those exclusive flash deals on tickets for football. Basketball is going to be coming up. Baseball game, we're in the swing of things right now. Concerts, comedy, theater. But the game time gap guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time, they'll credit you 100%, 110% of that difference. So you can snag tickets without the stress of Game Time. And here's the most important part for all of this. If you download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO, you get $20 off your first purchase. It's that simple. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Good stuff there, Nick. I just want to say hello to everyone who's listening and watching who is a CHGO diehard. I just want to say thank you so much for supporting us here at CHGO. Without you, it wouldn't be possible for Nick, myself, hell, even Greg, who's back there. We're all living our dreams. 2 years ago, he told us we're doing this for our jobs. A, I don't think I would ever have believed you. And B, like, just to fast forward a couple of years, it's truly incredible, and it's due to the support of diehards like you. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all three of us here on the show. And for you listening, and if you're not a diehard yet, it's a great time to sign up. Go to allchgo.com/diehard. It does a great job of kind of explaining all of the great benefits of our program. But just to let you know, a few of my favorite kind of perks of joining. First of all, as soon as you sign up, you get a free CHGO Bears shirt. We have all these, or any CHGO sports shirt you want, but I'm assuming Bears because you're listening to the Bears show. But we have a brand new line that just dropped. You get a free shirt of your choice. So definitely do that. And then every single year when your membership renews, boom, you get another free shirt. It's really awesome. Plus you get 20% off of our tailgates, all the other events we handle here over at CHGO, and that really helps you save a lot of money. And really, you know, it's $79.99 a year. But if you break that down by month, you're looking at like $8 a month, which is what, like 1/3 of the price of Netflix nowadays. But now you get to support your favorite local sports journalists, not just here at the Bears, but every other single beat that we have here at CHGO. So definitely check us out. allchgo.com/diehard gives you all of the amazing benefits. But really just know that by becoming a diehard, not only are you going to upgrade your fan experience, you're also helping us continue living our dreams. So thank you so much. And of course, brick by brick. I don't know. I couldn't get that out right now.
Right. You get
the best shirt to get.
That's right. You get a free shirt right out the gates when you become a diehard, and discounts on our tailgates. And we really did a great job here in that first week, and all the fans coming out. It was a lot of fun, and we're going to have the next home game coming up, our next tailgate at the corner of Wabash and Cermak, the official CHGO tailgate. Go to allchgo.com and hit the events tab, and you can be a part of a party like this. No party better than what we're putting on for our CHGO Bears tailgate with the guys over at the Chicago Bears Tailgating Club. So again, go to allchgo.com and you can join the fun week 4 against Denver, and all the DMVR crew is going to be out there too. So there's going to be a bit of a rivalry tailgate going down.
Yeah, that's going to be.
Man, I wish we would have just stayed at the tailgate the entire time and just, we would have had food, booze. It would have been great.
Yeah, seriously. All you can drink Goose Island, all you can eat Firewater Barbecue. And you're not kidding. The food was fire. It was really good. So make sure you guys come out for that. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Definitely check all of it out. We're doing so many great things here at CHGO, and we just want you to be a part of the fun. That's what we do. We make Chicago sports more fun. All right. Speaking of which, let's do some fun segments leading into this game. And let's begin with our weekly Bears bold predictions. And I'm going to start this thing off, Nick. It's bold, but I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to go with some Rojo Mojo.
Ooh.
It's going to have 2 touchdowns total on the day. I don't want to know if I want to commit to like 2 on the ground, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air. But when you go back and you watch that game, like, Roschon Johnson felt like at times the only Bear that came to play. So hell, give him some more carries, give him some more attempts. Once you get, if and when we get inside the 20, let him pound that rock down there towards the goal line. But for me, I'm going to say 2 touchdowns for Rojo, and that leads to some mojo, which would hopefully lead towards, better chances for the Bears to come out with a win here in this game. But I'm going to go offense. I'm going to go with Roschon Johnson.
I'm going offense with mine too, and this is bold, you guys. You ready for this?
Bring it.
Bears get an explosive play on a wide receiver screen. That's my bold prediction for this week 2 game. Seeing how poorly it was executed in week 1 against the Packers, I know the Bears are going to probably try to go back to it at some point, but we're really lowering the bar here for bold, what is considered bold, but how the Bears performed in week 1, I think almost puts that into that category of bold things that can happen. So Bears get an explosive play, so 20 plus yards off of a wide receiver screen. Boom.
Man, last week I kept saying, usually I set my expectations low and have them, and then I didn't, and we should have. So we're definitely, maybe we're overcorrecting, but I think that's okay. I think they give us every reason to feel like we need to maybe overreact or overcorrect here this week for this preview. Let's get into our weekly X factors. Mine specifically the offensive line, and we've talked about them a lot here throughout this episode. And I went through all those depressing stats, but I feel like this unit, and we talked about the blitzing from the Bucs, have a real chance to struggle and really struggle. And if they do, the ship may tend to sink, and they'll just have to be in their A game. Nate Davis needs to play at a much higher level. He missed like all of camp. I know we don't know all of these personal reasons, but obviously him not being out there really affected him, because he wasn't the guard that I saw a year ago that I knew that the Chicago Bears signed to bring in. He was literally the worst guard in the league last week when you look at the pressures allowed. And again, that's not why you signed him. He's supposed to be the upgrade, and we don't know, again, what that personal issue is. Hopefully he can start getting things on track. If not, then maybe the Bears need to not, force it, and maybe bring a Ja'Tyre Carter up and let him play, because he looked good in camp. And I want guys that are, really willing to and able to play at the highest level possible. So obviously a lot of pressure on this offensive line. I'm not going to rehash all of the stats here, but I think everyone knows that they're going to be key in this one.
Yeah, and my X factor kind of goes off of your X factor here, Will. But the X factor for me is how the Bears play against Vita Vea up front. If you look, if you're watching this stream right now, he is like 3 people in one, and that's how he plays. He's just a massive, hungry monster in the middle. And what he was doing to some of the Minnesota Vikings offensive linemen just made me laugh at times. There was even a play where the Vikings, they executed pretty well. They had a screen over to the left side. Vita Vea is going upfield, and that dude is running, chasing down, and tackles the running back in space. Like, that shouldn't be happening. That's why the NFL are just filled with freakish athletes. But Vita Vea is going to be a problem for this Bears offensive line. So, however, Chris Morgan, the offensive line coach, Luke Getsy, schemed to try to slow him down so you're not getting that direct, immediate pressure up the middle. That's why they get paid what they get paid, because that's going to be a tall task for them all game. But like we talked about it, the interior offensive line for the Bears did not play well last week. It's a really tough task for what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to bring. I don't know if Kalijah Kancey, a guy that I really liked coming out of the draft, I know he's still dealing with an injury right now, so that can change things, but they have some other guys up front, and it doesn't really matter who they're bringing, because it's so, again, we talked about how exotic it can look, but how they play against Vita Vea is going to be my X factor in this one, you guys.
Vita seems like he'd be very much a Flus kind of guy with that play that you just described. That was hustle, if I've ever heard it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
All right, let's find out who has the edge here this week. And I'm up first with the Bears passing attack versus that Buccaneer pass defense. Nick, after last week, it doesn't matter who the opponent is. They're going to have the edge over this Bears passing attack. Like, it's just what it is until they prove otherwise right now. But you'd like to think, when you look back at what the Vikings were able to do against this Bucs defense, specifically Justin Jefferson going off for 9 of 150, you would think that would instill confidence in me to be like, you know what, DJ Moore, he can have himself a day. But after what I saw last week, the inability to get the ball over to DJ Moore's hands, the Buccaneers know that the Bears have an emphasis on a little bit more so an urgency to throw number 2's way. And they know that the Bears are going to maybe, quote, force it a little bit. And I don't know if that's the right situation for the Bears to be in. Add in the heavy blitzes we talked about, the shaky offensive line that we've referenced, a quarterback that's holding onto that ball and second guessing out there in the pocket. It's a big yikes for me. Advantage, Bucs. How about you, Nick? Bears rush attack versus that Buccaneers run defense.
Real quickly, Will, I don't know. It probably doesn't change anything to you, but Carlton Davis did not practice 2 games in a row, their best corner. But
Right.
even if he's, not out there, I'm still going with
It's
the
not
Bucks here.
enough, but it does help. I won't lie
Yeah.
and say it doesn't make me kind of want to reconsider that a little bit. Like it definitely does change things, but the Bears, I think the gap, at least compared to last week, so large. And right now, it's maybe they can beat the Bucks, but can they beat themselves? That goes back to the other key I mentioned earlier here too. 2 opponents you're going up against, so not quite,
Good
Nick.
point.
But let's get into your edge. Who has it?
Yeah, it's the Bears rushing attack versus this Bucks rush defense. Last time they played the Bucks, actually Khalil Herbert went off, right? 18 carries, 100 yards in that, what was it, a 3-30 something blowout loss in Tampa Bay.
Woohoo.
Yeah, woohoo is right. I think the Bears want to try to establish the run in this one, you guys. And I'm looking at the Eagles-Vikings game. The Vikings brought a lot of the blitz too, and the Eagles are able to just run the ball all over them, but they have an established offensive line. They knew how to, read their blocks and take advantage of one-on-one matchups. The Bears don't, unfortunately, have that. And, I guess if Khalil Herbert has that game, I wouldn't even call it a win in a sense, because you're probably getting a lot of those yards in garbage time or something like that. So I have the Bucks rush defense as the advantage here, who were able to, just over 40 yards rushing for Minnesota last week. So go with the Bucks here.
All right, we'll flip over to the other side of the ball. I got the Bucks rushing attack versus that Bears run defense. Again, an offense that you think, being the Bucks offense, that had less than 3 yards per carry last week, that you think I'd be feeling good about it. But that Bears defense, as I mentioned, they have a long way to go to order and just to prove to me that they can stop the run when it matters, or enough to not allow the Buccaneers to get easy second and third downs and just force them maybe to limit the playbook. Because when you allow a team to give 7, 8, 9 yards on the ground on first down, their entire playbook is wide open, and it's a really disadvantageous spot for your defense to be in. And one thing I will say I liked is that the Bears did have 6 tackles for a loss last week. This is a unit that struggled in that category a year ago, only 3.7 per game. That is a plus. They only allowed 1 run of 10 or more, which was an exactly 10-yard gain, which is another good sign for a defense that allowed so many big plays last year. But I just don't trust it yet. And again, maybe they can stop the home run. Maybe they won't get knocked out, but they still need to protect the body from those jabs and those body shots. But they definitely didn't do it last week. And I believe the Buccaneers offense is capable of replicating at least what Green Bay did against them last week. So this is another one for me, advantage or edge, Buccaneers. And Nick, you're up next with the Buccaneers pass attack with Baker Mayfield and his Bears pass defense without Kyler Gordon.
Yeah, so again, it's not the Buccaneers passing attack is not after one game this crazy explosive unit. It really isn't. They didn't throw the ball much. They can rely on their rushing attack, but just when I think the Buccaneers need it most, they'll be effective with their pass game, and it helps when the opposition doesn't have any type of pass rush. And like we said earlier, the Bears are not going to change things up crazy schematically to bring the pressure against this Buccaneers, offense. And I think the right tackle for the Buccaneers, he's a guy that you should be able to win matchups against. But we just didn't see the Bears do that all too often. Not enough against the Packers in week 1. So I'm also giving this one to the Buccaneers, but it's not because they're like extraordinarily great unit. Just when I think they need it most, they'll be able to get those plays through the air when they have to.
Well, that's good for the Bears because we gave the Bears the edge in all 4 categories last week. And look what happened. And here we go independently. Now it's all 4 the other way. So good. We are overcorrecting. And that's great. That's great to see here. Let's play some over-under here, Nick. Popped up the DraftKings app. We got some props for everybody. Let's get started. Passing yards. We'll start with Justin Fields. His over-under is at 174.5.
I don't know if I can't take the over on that, Will. I just can't. I'm going under that. Going under.
What about Baker at 224.5?
I'll go under on that one too. I don't think it's going to be a very high passing game in this one.
All right, for passing touchdowns, Baker's at 1.5.
I'll take I'll take the under on Baker passing touchdowns at 1.5.
What about Fields at 0.5? Is he going to get a passing touchdown this game?
I think he can get one. We're taking the over. We're taking it over. Let's go.
All right. What about Fields on the ground? Over under 59.5 yards.
Fields on the ground. I think there's going to be opportunities where that blitz, force him out the pocket. We'll take the over on that one too.
All right. What about Chris Godwin at 52.5 yards receiving?
52. I think he gets more yards than Mike Evans in this one, so I'll go over on Godwin stats.
Okay. Evans is at 51.5, so they're about even. So you think you go under there for Evans?
Man, yeah, I guess so. But those go well. Yeah, it was really, really close there. Yeah, go under on Evans there.
All right. On the Bears side, receiving DJ Moore. Oh, God, please. 43.5 yards for our wide receiver one.
I hope so, Will. I hope the over. If it's not the over on that one, we have a serious issue.
And then I'll do Darnell Mooney for the last one for receiving. 33.5 yards receiving.
I gave DJ Moore the over. Let's calm it down here and just say the under on Darnell Mooney.
All right, then one more rushing, and then we'll move on. Khalil Herbert, 44.5 is the line.
Let's give it to Herbert. 46 Bears defense.
Yeah,
let's go.
There we go. Yeah, that's. Whew, man, that was a tough one this week, honestly, on all of those lines. But thanks for everyone for playing in the chat. Nick, thanks for entertaining some of these props for us here this week. But it's time to figure out who's going to be the most valuable Bear when it's all said and done. Last week, I really, really thought DJ Moore. So obvious that Luke Getzey said, ha, bet.
No.
Let's move on. I'll let you kind of kick it off here. Who's going to be your MVP this week?
Can I also just say this is the coolest graphic of all time?
It is really cool.
Bear.
It's badass. My most valuable Bear, you guys, and we try to do this, Will and I, without putting Justin Fields in there every single week. Yep. So my most valuable Bear for week 2 against the Buccaneers is going to be Khalil Herbert, you guys. I think that when you think about what the Buccaneers want to do, they're going to bring the blitz. You got to have, obviously, whoever's in at running back be able to pick up that blitz, but also be effective in running. I mentioned what he did in, his rookie season against the Buccaneers in that style of defense, the 18 carries for 100 yards exactly. Obviously, he's a different player now, but if he's able to not only do that, but he did pick up the one successful screen the Bears ran against the Packers went to Khalil Herbert. Lucas Patrick actually got out in space and made a block. I think it was like a 12-yard gain. But if you can also have that be a part of your offense, that's going to help you at least be out there, sustain drive. So my MVP in this one is Khalil Herbert.
All right. Oh, no wonder why you took the over, although you barely took the over, but you still did. You hit it home with the MVP. Good work. I'll go. It's weird because I'm like saying I'll go with a defensive player. Then I feel like that doesn't sound right. But also if I say it's an offensive player, that doesn't sound right. So leave it to the Bears to really have my confident shot on both sides of the ball right now. But I'm going to go with Jalen Johnson because Mike Evans, we know it's probably the biggest matchup for the Bears on defense. Mayfield went his way early and often. Mike Evans led the team with 10 targets, which I know Bears fans, a wide receiver one getting double-digit targets in a single game is a thing that does and can happen and honestly probably should. He was able to turn those 10 targets into a modest 66 yards, a touchdown, plus, as Nick mentioned, a drop touchdown as well. So there's a little bit left on the plate. Jalen Johnson last week, he will need to kind of be the guy to shut down Mike Evans. Last week, Jalen Johnson was targeted 4 times. He allowed 1 catch that Nick already highlighted in great detail for 13 yards. And it was a first down on 3rd down. But on top of that, Johnson was one of only 3 players in the NFL last week at corner that saw 4 or more targets and allowed only 1 catch. So really good company to be in. So for Jalen Johnson, even if he doesn't get the PBUs or the interceptions, if he can help slow down Mike Evans and win that matchup, and if he does so and it helps the Bears either win or give them a chance to win this game, I think he will prove his worth and be the most valuable Bear here on Sunday afternoon.
I like it, Will. Every single defender on that Bears defense needs to, step their game up. And obviously, we talk about this is not the crazy explosive offense, but you give them opportunities, they can make plays. But it'll be nice to see if Jalen Johnson can shut some people down on Sunday.
There we go. And I'm going to surprise Nick because we have to give you our game picks. We have to tell you how confident we are. But before we do, we just played some over-unders on the DraftKings app, and I think it's a great time to just take our final timeout before we get into the final portions here of this episode. So in case you haven't known, I don't think the Bears know this, but football is back in full swing. And this week is another slate of epic games. And who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code CHGO when you sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code CHGO. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets do expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions do apply. All right, so let's recap. We gave you our keys to each side of the ball. 6 keys in total for both the Bears offense and the defense. We told you who our X factors are. We gave you some bold predictions. We told you who we believe has the edge. And now it's time to kind of boil it all down and kind of just say and explain who we believe will win this game. Nick, you're up first. What's the final score and how confident are you?
Yeah, and just really quickly, you guys, before we give that, there was news on who's not going to be playing for the Bucs. No Carlton Davis, no Kalijah Cansey, Dennis, their linebacker, all looking like they're out. And the Bears are going to doubtful for Josh Blackwell. But honestly, it doesn't change my opinion of what this game's going to look like. We relayed it. We relayed all the things that are concerning with what the Bucs bring and what the Bears don't have right now and going into week 2. So with that being said, I think the Bucs win this game 17-14. Low scoring, but it's just going to be a long day for the Bears offense, you think, you guys. And I hope I am wrong, because this past week for every Bears fan has just been, it felt like months of just thinking about kind of reliving that game, even though you didn't want to, of how you can come out so unprepared, don't have that energy, not being able to execute in week 1. I don't want to experience that. But just looking at this matchup, it's not the best get right game for the Bears in terms of what their weaknesses are and what the Bucs' strengths are. So unfortunately, I have the Bucs winning 17-14 on Sunday.
Okay. How confident would you be on that meter then?
I put it at a 3 because it was a 3-point game, but I mean, I could have gotten lower. I could have again, maybe it's week 1. Are we Will, you put the term overcorrecting, and maybe that's what I'm doing right now in my head as we're kind of putting together the show and relaying everything. Maybe I am overcorrecting, but I'm at a 3 in terms of confidence, and hope, again, please prove me wrong. Prove all of us wrong here, because we want to see the Bears obviously get that victory.
It's crazy that we live a couple hundred miles apart, yet our brains are usually on the same exact wavelength, like almost to a T. I have the Buccaneers winning this game 24, Bears 20. The magic number that the Bears seem like they can just never get past. So I just figured, yeah, it's a good stopping point for them here. And literally in my notes, I have bolded under that score. Honestly, I'm just at the point where I want to be wrong, which is very reminiscent of exactly how you're feeling about your final score as well. And I just can't, there's not enough Listerine in my house to just get over how bad the taste was in my mouth after that last Bears game. Again, that was a rough drive home. I mean, they let me down in so many ways. I'm not giving up on them. I just don't know how I can sit here and confidently explain why they will win this game, because they didn't give us a lot to kind of build off of last week. They really have to turn a lot around, and I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't know what they even looks like for this unit here right now. So my confidence meter, I went to a 5, which, that's exactly in the middle. And like you, I wish I was more confident in this week. I really wish that they can give us a close game. I feel like it's almost a must-win sort of game, because with Kansas City coming up in week 3,
yes.
I mean, if you lose this game, you're easily looking at an 0-3 hole to start the season, and 0-3 looks a lot different than even 1-2. Early on in this season. So hopefully the Bears feel some of that pressure and everything that we talked about here. But yeah, I'm at a 5. I'm not feeling great about it by any means. And I get like you, Nick. I pray I'm wrong. I just don't feel like I am, which is disappointing.
Yeah, and if they do, let's say the Bears are able to make some of those corrections necessary to win this game, that would be such a good adjustment for the Bears, because one, they're learning how to identify to attack a team that's blitz heavy. They can, again, take the right adjustments from a week 1 massacre and turn it into, a positive. That would be a good sign for the Bears coaching staff. But we got to see it. We got to see it first for me to, start picking the Bears again.
You have to see it before you can do what that mug says behind your left shoulder. Did I do that right?
This is my life. Yep. We got it right. Believe it.
Phew.
You gotta believe. You gotta believe. I see we have 4 super chats here. So like the first one I see, at least in the order on my side, is from Mob. That says, Will, Nick, and Braggs, the GOATs. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for watching our show here. We really much appreciate it. And then the Duke, per usual, took over.
Just went off on us here. 3 1999 super chats. Maybe the Duke believes that's the year we were born, but it was sooner than that. We promise you that. But he's like, look at the bright side. They can't disappoint us this weekend when it's 50-6 at halftime. My heart hurts. We can at least know deep down we expected it. I'll be watching in a cold, dark place, which seems appropriate for watching a Bears game. That's right, in the dark cave, a Bears den. Then the other one here.
He tipping his hand there where Duke Island is, a cold, dark place. Like we've always thought Duke Island
have caves.
That's what I'm saying. We've always assumed Duke Island is somewhere warm, but there's islands in cold places too. So I feel like now he's tipping his hand.
See, I just think that if the island's warm and you go into the cave on the island, then it'll be cool and it'll be dark. Okay. So I think it leaves it open, but it's interpretation. I like it. Still, the mystery is afoot. We're going to get this. And then we have another one here from the Duke. The reason we suck and have Claypool is Pohl's system is flawed. He wants guys with high A scores and thinks that they can be coached into great football players. A good scout values that, quote, can they play more than some of those measurements? I mean, there's some truth to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a high emphasis to get the length, the speed, the size on this Bears defense, but they're not putting that to their advantage, right? So I just don't. What are you doing over there, Will?
Oh, sorry, they need a heart.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. They got to play with that.
Like the coach from The Replacements, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Gene Hackman. He's like, what are we missing?
Heart. You got me.
You got me. Pointing at your stomach like you're hungry for something.
No, I eat before the show. I eat before the show, or else I'm gonna pass out halfway through.
He's so right too. And I brought this up before in the offseason, but there was a video of Merrill Hodge breaking down the draft when Jadeveon Clowney and Khalil Mack came out, and he was like, "Give me Khalil Mack all day." Jadeveon Clowney has all the measurements, but at the end of the day, it's how bad you want it, where your technique is. It's not just about how long your arms are, how strong you are, or how tall you are. And he broke it down why he would take Khalil Mack over Jadeveon Clowney, and that this reigns true with what you're saying about RAS scores and things of that nature. Get guys that want it bad enough to be the best.
Yep.
Damn
Completely
straight.
agree.
And they got one more here from the Duke. Want to make sure we get to. One day when the Bears finally win the Super Bowl, I'll walk up to Braggs and tell him, "It's me, Greg. It was me all along. We did it." And we break down in tears. And the band I hire, of course, he's going to hire a band. These pockets run deep. Plays movie-ending music and then fade to black.
Fade to black. Yeah, somebody asked, like, Duke, how are you always in the chat? And he said, I'm rich and I don't work a lot. Love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
Can't wait to meet you one day, but let's save it for when they win the Super Bowl. I'll take you up on that deal. And then we'll all come by wherever island you want us, and we'll happily get drunk. But I feel like we're a long ways away from that day.
Whew. Ain't that the damn sad truth here? But we'll get there. I still believe we will get there. If not, I don't think I would be sitting here at this desk doing this podcast. So, but Nick, before we wrap up, I just want to, thank you. And I hope everyone in the chat understands, like, you've been pretty sick for over a day here. And I think, if we never said anything, no one would ever know. And I just want to, get you a pat on the back, maybe over that left shoulder, just thanking you for, persevering, powering through, showing some of that heart for what we do over here to make another kick-ass Week 2 Bears preview show. Thank you, man.
No, thank you, Will, for everybody who's involved in making this show run. We did all we could. We did our end, right? We were able to put everything out there, how the Bears can, win this game. We don't have that, unfortunately, happening, but let's see if they can make a quick turnaround and make this, a victory Monday, which we haven't been able to experience only 2 weeks into the season, but hopefully we get to experience that on Monday.
My Bears Victory Monday shirt, out of spite, I shoved it to the very last spot in my closet, like very end, behind things I haven't worn in like half a decade. Nope. Make me have to dig it out. I'll be happy if I have to go dig it out, but I don't need it front and center mocking me every time I want to go change my shirt. But I wanted to thank everyone here in the chat. It's been a lot of fun. It is each and every Friday with you all. I know the guys are going to have you covered throughout the entirety of the game day. So definitely tune in for a pregame show, the postgame show, and of course, everything in between, because we're always going to bring you the most extensive and best Chicago Bears coverage. I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Nick and myself and Greg behind the scenes. But until next time, bear down, Chicago.